All right, peeps, welcome to Kickstarter Radio 102.4. I'm actually going to listen to what CNN interview with Jamey Stegmaier. I'm going to be pausing it to do some comments. Let's have a listen.
Founder of Stonemaier Games. It's one of several game-making companies now suing the Trump administration over the tariffs. And Jamey Stegmaier joins us. Now, Jamey, your company creates all sorts of original board games. Can you explain to us why tariffs have been detrimental to the gaming industry in particular?
Absolutely, Jake. In my industry, the tabletop board game industry, we make most of our games in China. I've worked with for around 13 years with a company called Panda. It's a Canadian company that has...
Yeah, Panda, the biggest company. They make all of the games. They're great with the minis as well now. They were bad at the beginning, but they've improved so much.
That's their main facility in China. And China has gotten really, really good at making all the little bits and pieces and cards and boards that we put into modern hobby board games.
Your industry is centered around entertainment, having fun. Did the tariffs create a kind of uncertainty for your industry? And if so, what is the impact on your business and your customers?
Is that even a question? It's going to collapse the board game industry.
Uncertainty is the word that we've been talking about for the last month due to these tariffs in the board game industry. We don't know what the future will hold, but what we do know right now about
We do know what the future will hold. We know that the tariffs are not going to go off. China, the leader, does not care about the collapse in the country of the industry. He's not going to kneel. They have said openly, we will not kneel to the US. They see the US as an enemy state. Even today, they have been producing propaganda suggesting that its people should suffer the bad times, etc., etc. It's terrible that's going on. The only future of the board game industry is if the manufacturers change countries to manufacturing.
The present is that many publishers, including my company, Stonemaier Games, we started making print runs of games, reprints and new games back before the tariffs even existed, back in January or before. And so we are now facing the end of our production. We're ready to ship these games to the US, and
they're in limbo. They'll never come to the US unless you want to pay the tariff fee, as Jamey Stegmaier says. The profit margin on board games is not that big. I mean, it's not 100%. It's not 145%. Jamey Stegmaier's boxes are going to be in a warehouse, and they are not going to be coming to the USA.
If we want to do that, when those games reach the shores in the US, we have to pay $14.50 for every $10 that we spend.
They're not going to make they're not actually going to make the shore, because before that ship actually leaves China, they make sure that all the tariffs are going to get paid on the US side, and on the US side, everyone's saying, I'm not going to pay the tariffs. The ship doesn't leave. The customer says they don't want it because they will make a loss if it gets delivered. That's why they are not even getting on the ship at the minute.
To making those games in China. For us at Stonemaier Games, that amounts to around if we shipped all those games that we started making in January, it would amount to around 1.5 million in tariffs that we would have to pay, and that's devastating.
So the goal of your lawsuit is to get the 145% tariff on objects, products coming from China overturned. The Trump administration's argument is basically, we don't want American companies to be manufacturing in China. We want them to be manufacturing in the United States. What's your...
No, the goal of the Trump government is to make manufacturing in the USMCA. Mexico, USA, or Canada. That's it. That's why they're moving to Mexico. The cost of running these factories, you need workers that are on relatively low pay, and you're only going to get that in Mexico.
Answer to that?
Well, my answer is twofold. Part of it is we have all these games that we've already made in China. I just want to bring them to the U.S. so I can serve my coworkers, my customers, and all the retailers in the U.S. that we want to sell those games to. The other part of it is the future. And for me, as a board game publisher, I would love to have a more diversified supply chain where we do make some products, or at least assemble some products here in the US. But I would love the government to incentivize and subsidize that, not punish us for making some components in China that we simply can't make here in the US.
It's funny that Jamey Stegmaier says he would like to do stuff in the US, but he's doing like 50,000 print runs. And where's he going to get the staff to put all the components in the boxes? Because if you've ever seen a video from Kickstarter of manufacturing lines, it's like a huge conveyor belt with about 50 people all putting dice in, the different card packs in, etc. They're all putting it in on the conveyor belt. It needs a giant army to actually put this stuff in your boxes. He's not going to be doing this in the US. That's ridiculous.
What support, what incentives do you need specifically?
Well, an example of this is right now, if I want to make a board game box here in the US, and maybe I want to make some of those components in China that I can't make here in the US, but I want to make a box here in the US, and I want to handle assembly of the game here in the US, just the cost of that box here in the US would cost almost the entire cost of the entire game if I make it in China. And so if the government could help subsidize the cost of that box, then I can at least take the first step and bring the construction of the box.
I think it's incredible that he's suggesting that there would even be a subsidy from the US government. When has the US government ever helped an industry? Did they help the banks during the banking crisis that created a recession across the world? No. In fact, the only case we have of a subsidization was during the car crisis during COVID time, wasn't it? And board gaming is such a niche in the industry. Why would a subsidy come to help that production? It's ridiculous that production's going to go in the USA. It's simply going to go to Mexico. This whole argument about keeping it in the USA is bonkers.
And the assembly of some of these products to the US. That's a great first step that we could take. But I would need some help to do that instead of dipping into our cash reserves to pay for tariffs on products that we've already made in China.
Well, that's my last question. If these keep going, if this 145% tariff on any product coming from China continues, what happens to your company?
I'm worried about what that future holds. For now, we're treading water. We're weathering this storm.
Well, that stuff you've got in China that's been made, that's in limbo, dude. You're not going to get that ever. To be honest, that's a going concern now. And the rest of the stuff, you're going to hope it moves to a different country like Mexico, and then you can make orders in the future. But yeah, that's a giant loss. It's terrible that's happened like that. But one could argue that, but even before Trump was voted in, everybody knew he was going to put tariffs on China. And remember, the tariffs could be 10%, but the fact that China don't come to the table to talk, and they've rejected to help with the fentanyl smuggling into the USA from China, that put an extra 20% on. So they'd already be at 30% anyway if they came to the table, and 30% still would be too high on the margin. So, yeah.
We're taking a more conservative approach to the amount of games that we decide to make for the holiday print run, which we're going to start soon. If they hold for months or even years, it will probably be largely the end of most board games in the US. So we might just be a smaller company that sells to other countries instead of to retailers and customers in the US.
All right, Jamey, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate your time.
Well, there's even a risk at that, because like I said in my bigger video, that there is going to be also more tariffs placed on countries. If you want a trade deal with the USA, part of that trade deal is going to have a caveat that you put tariffs up on China. It's as simple as that. You know, the whole reason the tariffs are on China is because of the stance of the CCP. Number one, they want to attack Taiwan. Number two, they're helping Russia in the war. Number three, they've got ethical policies going on across their country. As a Chinese citizen, you can't even leave the country now, for example. There's stuff going on in the country which is so unethical that this is why all countries are turning their backs on China. If anything is is promoting democracy in the country, an uprising is the tariffs and the economy that's going on in China at the minute. So, not to mention the de-civilization event that's going to happen with the population, which is geopolitically a prediction that is looking more likely.
Trump just telling NBC News that it's okay if America enters a short recession.
All right, peeps. Well, there's my short view from that interview. I think Jamey Stegmaier realizes he's probably come under the realization that he's lost his capital that he's put in. And I think a lot of companies are like that. They've put money into China expecting manufacturing. As long as the manufacturing hasn't happened yet, the money can kind of help be saved, because the company will just migrate to probably Mexico. The big problem is that you paid and it's been manufactured and it's getting boxed and it's being saved in a factory and it's ready to be shipped. That is the stuff that's a loss. I mean, if you go to the channel I suggested on my main channel, which is the Chinese one, they were selling stuff for hundreds of dollars, and because they came back from the ship, they couldn't even sell them in China for $1. So they're basically burning stock, essentially, when they know they can't sell it on. So, yeah, it's going to be the pits, isn't it? Well, there you go, peeps. There's my reaction from the CNN interview with Stegmaier. And that guy's living on cloud cuckoo land, and when he's going to have a hard pill to swallow when he realises how much he's lost. Well, on that bombshell, thank you so much for watching. This has been Kickstarter Radio 102.4. You take care, stay safe, and bye for now. And hey, $1 pledges only going forward.
Well, thanks for watching. And if you remember, you can please subscribe and like the video. And don't remember, you can also hit the bell for notices on the channel. Yeah, we've also got a Twitter you can see on our banner, so check that out too. So take care and bye-bye.